All right, so in and out games are whenever there's two groups. So oftentimes we always think that, oh, there has to be an in group or an out group, but really it's just if there's two groups. So if there's like team one and team two, and everybody has to be used, we're gonna go ahead and consider that an in and out game versus a grouping game, where grouping is when there's three groups or more. And so if we happen to have like team one, team two in an out group, I would actually consider this a grouping game in that there's three groups. Like there's, people in picture one, people in picture two, and then potentially people can be in picture three, which is no picture. But for the simplicity of in and out games, we're just gonna talk about like, hey, whenever there's two groups. So how I'm gonna set this up is an album contains photographs picturing 7 friends. So I always rewrite my variables. So we're going to have R, S, T, U, W, Y, and Z. The friends appear either alone or in groups with one another. Wait, I would say that this is a grouping game, not an in and out game.
It literally says on 7th stage, it says the basic in and out game.
All right, we'll go with that. So, what we're going to do here is you read through your rules, but you instead of drawing out every single rule, you actually make it happen into world. So it's very much world heavy, but you go in with the mindset that you're going to do it. And so it's going to be confusing, but I'm just going to show you kind of what it looks like. So it says Wendy appears in every photograph that Selma appears in. So automatically, I know I'm almost going to always have two scenarios to start with. So on my paper, I'm going to kind of quickly always just rewrite my variables. You are going to have more worlds and you are going to have more setup time than normal. But I'm going to go ahead and just copy these twice here at the bottom. And so what I'm going to do is Wendy appears in every photograph that Selma appears in. So what this rule is saying for one is that if Selma is there, then there's Wendy, right? And so I'm going to create a world where I have Selma, and I'm going to create a world where I don't have Selma. And so whenever I have Selma, what happens?
You have Wendy.
I have Wendy. So I'm going to go ahead and circle my Wendy here. But this rule is never triggered in world 2, right? So we don't know anything about Wendy in world 2. We just don't know. So I'm going to move on to rule number 2. Selma appears in every photograph that you appears in. So if we have you, then we have Selma, right? So we have to split our worlds again. Bear with me. It's going to be funky. So I'm going to go ahead and honestly, even before you read that rule, like once I know I'm going to be copying it, you want to make sure that you copy everything exactly as the one beside it. Because that could get you in trouble. So for this one, I have to make sure that I have R and W circled, and I need to make sure I have S crossed off below. But on this one, I'm saying, so if I have U, then I have S. So
Wait, sir, I think you want to circle S, not R.
Thank you. So if we have U, then we have S. So I'm going to create a world where I broke it, because this is like 1B essentially. I'm going to create one where I have U and one where I don't have U. And same for number 2, I'm going to create one where I have U and one where I don't have U. And so whenever I have U, what happens?
You have S.
We have S. So world 1 that works, I already have S. But can that happen in world 2? No, so it dies. It literally just dies. Like that's not a scenario anymore.
I think it's in your track.
What?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know it was on.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Okay, so now we're going to go on to rule 3. R appears in every photograph that Y does not appear in. So here we're saying that if we don't have Y, then we have R, right? And if we don't have R, then we have Y. So we have to, it gets kind of annoying, but we have to split our worlds again. So I'm going to make all of this same. Okay, so here I'm gonna make a world where I don't have Y and then I do have Y. Wait, no, I don't have Y, I have R. I think I'm gonna look at who. Okay, I'm actually going to like, and you're gonna, eventually you're going to do this where you might even read through the rules and pick which ones you start with. I'm actually going to do not having R just because I'm cheating ahead and seeing that I have a rule with R in it. So I'm just going to use that for how I break it. And I'm going to say that I have a world where I don't have R, and then I have one where I do have R. So I'm going to go ahead and split all of these like this. And then what happens when I don't have R?
You have Y.
You have Y, yes. So whenever I don't have R here, I'm circling Y. And then in my last one is that neither Ty nor R appears in any photograph that Wendy appears in. So if we have Wendy, then we cannot have R. If we have Wendy, then we cannot have T. So this is convenient because I feel like the only one we're going to have to split is this one down here, which is really nice. But before we get there, let's pay attention to our other two. In all of these, we have W, right? So in all of these, we cannot have R and we cannot have T. So I'm going to pick a different color. So if I have W, I cannot have R and I cannot have T. So this one I'm just going to cross off. But this one, I have R circled, so it doesn't work. So this one dies too. I just crossed it off. And I'm on this right side here where I have W in both of these, so I can't have R or T. So I'm going to cross T off here. But once again, this one doesn't work, so this one's going to die. Just because I feel like we're just learning here, I'm going to go ahead and erase the ones that have died, even though we don't have that luxury on our paper on the test. And so the only ones I have to split on this example are these two down here. So I'm just going to draw them across from here. So I have R, S, T, U, W, Y, Z. All right, so I'm going to create a world where I have W and one where I don't, one where I have W and one where I don't. And then wherever I have W, I can't have R or T, so I don't have T here. And so, and then this world obviously dies because I can't have R. but I'm going to erase it. And then on the right side, I don't know anything. So I'm gonna go ahead and just maybe highlight the letters that we don't know anything about, just for an example. So these ones, the ones that we don't have crossed off or in are just floaters. So they could be in or out. Which normally, like if I drew it nicer on a piece of paper, I wouldn't highlight them or anything. I would just notice that. But these are all our possible scenarios for an in and out game. And so if you can get quick at breaking these apart and just reading the rules, you don't have to worry about remembering your conditionals at all because you just put it directly in there and go. Do people feel super overwhelmed, or can people kind of see how this could work? It's very weird.
I'm like struggling to get it. Like I get it, but I think this is like much more challenging than what I've been doing.
I agree. I honestly, I think I thought the same thing until I saw it on a harder game. I think that this way could be a little bit slower on easy in and out games, but it's significantly faster on hard in and out games. Which, if you're already scoring perfect in time, then don't feel like you have to go to this method. But I do think if you tried it for 2 or 3 days, or if you met to go over it, like everybody I've talked to that has done this for 2 or 3 days has switched to this method once they trust it. Like once they kind of get you, you have to go slow to get faster with it for sure.